Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
And this week we've got an interview. This is actually our first interview for Archie Comics. We've done reviews for them before. That's true. But this is our first Archie Comics interview with the legendary Tom DeFalco. He's writing Reggie and Me, which focuses on Riverdale's, I think you referred to him as its greatest supervillain.
Oh, yeah.
So that first issue comes out in comic shops everywhere, on Comixology, on the Archie app, on Wednesday, December 7th. So without much further ado, here's Tom. And joining us this week, we've got Tom DeFalco. He's writing the Reggie Mantle miniseries for Archie Comics, Reggie and Me, the first issue of which comes out on Wednesday, December 7th. Tom, thanks for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I prefer the legendary Tom DeFalco.
Oh, legendary, yeah.
Come on. We'll throw that in there next time.
Yeah.
Come on, you guys should know that.
We can get into some of that legend in a bit, but first, I did want to ask. So you got your start working for Archie Comics, right?
Yes, I did.
How does it feel to come back, all these years later and write these timeless characters, but present them for a new audience?
Scary. I had come back a while ago, and I was, doing the classic Archie characters and having a ball with that stuff. I love slapstick. I love humor. Those were a lot of my first loves, and I was having an enjoyable time doing that material. I was surprised, pleased, and honored when Archie asked me to write the last issue of the classic Archie series. And I figured that would be the last time I'd ever get to handle classic Archie or any of the characters. To my surprise, they're still doing classic Archie, brand new classic Archie material in all the digest books. And I, again, had the privilege of doing some of that. And I, frankly, was completely shocked when they asked me if I'd be interested in working on some of the new Archie, new Riverdale stuff. I think that the other guys are doing a fabulous job with it, Archie. I think Mark Waid is really hitting it out of the park. I love reading the Jughead book every month. I've only read the first issue of Adam Hughes' Betty and Veronica. I just got the second issue today, which I'm going to sit down and read tomorrow. And I thought the first issue was terrific, and I'm looking forward to being part of the gang.
You had mentioned the digest magazines. You had been instrumental, I hear, in getting those created back in the late 70s and early 80s, right?
Yeah, more or less. I'll be quite honest. I stole the idea from Western. Western was the Western Gold Key. We're doing digest books, and I saw them, and I thought, wow, this stuff is perfect for the Archie material. And I brought it to my boss, who was Victor Gorelick, and he looked at the project and he said, well, yeah, but that'll be a lot of work if we do it. And I said, yeah, well, okay, it'll be a lot of work. He said, okay, it's your baby, go with it. And it was a lot of work.
Well, for me, that was always the most ubiquitous part of like Archie growing up. Seeing those digests like in the supermarket, they were just like everywhere. So I mean I do have to ask, now that we're kind of like 75 years into this legacy, what do you think that makes Archie and of course Betty and Veronica and Jughead and of course Reggie? What do you think makes those characters endure for so long, more than the Gold Key Westerns, more than so many other characters and properties?
Well, these are universal characters. It's the constant, war between, who's he going to choose? The blonde or the brunette? What do they find fascinating with this, geeky, clumsy guy? I always thought the star of the show was Jughead because it was the star of the show. these characters just, have always had a universal appeal.
Yeah, I suppose. No, everybody remembers the Honeymooners for Art Carney, not so much Ralph Cramden, I guess. But the
Yeah.
now, what was it about Reggie? How did the Archie Comics kind of approach you to focus on, I suppose, the greatest villain that Riverdale will ever know?
Well, they looked at Reggie and they said, okay, this is a crazed egotist who has no redeeming social values or real personality. And they said, who do we know who's closest to that kind of character? And I'm gonna call those guys up and give them a piece of my mind.
As it starts to dawn on you.
Yeah.
I have to say, though.
Hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. I do have to say, you make, for someone that, at least in a lot of depictions of Reggie, he's so reprehensible, but you do give him a sympathetic side. There's almost like this fundamental like loneliness that comes with being Reginald Mantle, and it was really interesting to see that on display. Do you think he's just a grossly misunderstood character?
Well, in many regards, I think we're all misunderstood. We are all the hero of our own story, the central figure. Certain things, we see one way and the people around us see a whole different way. I'm obviously cheating by having his dog, who loves him unconditionally, as the narrator of the series. But even the dog will, have to accept, certain problems that exist with Reggie as time goes on.
It was, what would you say stems his deep rivalry with Archie Andrews? Is it coming from a place of jealousy, the idea that Archie is so well liked in Riverdale, and he, despite his like clumsiness, despite, being just kind of an aw shucks guy, is something that Archie will never understand?
I think there's a lot more to it than that. And over the next couple of issues, we will be exploring that. Reggie and Archie were friends when they were much younger, and due to a series of events, they ceased to be friends. And we're going to be exploring them. We'll see some instances of this in issue 2, and in issue 4, and in issue 5. We're going to really explore how do friends separate and become, if not enemies, just antagonists.
What would you say is the big mission statement for Reggie and Me? Is it just kind of reevaluating Reggie's place in New Riverdale, or just kind of Riverdale in general across these 5 issues?
I would say my mission statement is supervillains want to have fun too.
Oh, man, we got to get you on Villains United, I guess Forever Evil a couple years later.
Listen, I've, I have a small history with supervillains, and I've always felt, we have to know who they are and what motivates them, what pushes them, because, we know so much about the heroes. If we don't know just as much about the villains, we're only getting part of the story. So, to me, it's all about character.
Well, I'm afraid this might be a bit of a rabbit hole, but you mentioned villains. The first comic books I ever read, certainly among them, was the Maximum Carnage issues of The Amazing Spider-Man. And so I do have to kind of give you the tip of the hat for getting me into, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So I definitely thank you, legendary Tom DeFalco, for putting Spider-Man in my hands. You really were instrumental for that too. While I've got your ear, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much. If I hadn't done it, somebody else would have, because Spider-Man is a great character.
Do you have any kind of recollections about that? Or, I mean, I'm sure you've talked to death about the Clone Saga. Probably talked yourself blue in the face multiple times. But do you have any kind of recollections about writing either of those two really iconic story arcs?
Well, what I remember most about the Maximum Carnage series was the writer's room. The editor, put a whole bunch of us into a room together, all of us writers, and we had a ball playing off each other. Somebody would say one thing, and we would jump on the idea and twist it and turn it and come up with so many exciting things. It was just a wonderful experience, that writer's room. Later on, when the Clone Saga started, the Clone Saga basically started. The editor told me his plan. Hey, we're going to bring back the original clone, and Peter Parker that we've known for years is not the real Peter Parker. I said, that idea is ridiculous. There's no way we're going to do it. And I went into the writer's room to talk to all the writers and the artists. And I could see how passionate they all were about the story. Sal Buscema, a man who had been in the industry, longer than most of us had been alive at that stage. Very passionate about the idea of, this will be great. It'll shake everybody up, shake up the whole universe. And I saw that passion, and I thought, wow, if these jaded comic book creators can get that excited about it, this thing probably could be a lot of fun. And that's how I got suckered into it. When the Clone Saga started, the ideas were flowing, and everybody was having just a great time. And then, a number of things outside of the Spider-Man universe happened that shook up the Marvel and the comic book industry. As time went on, the writers' room wasn't as much fun.
So was having Vader, the Reggie's trusty dog, did you kind of feel that you needed that outsider perspective rather than getting directly into Reggie's head?
Well, when Archie Comics approached me with the series, Mike Pellerito, the president of the company, John Goldwater, the owner of the company, the CEO of the company. I'm sorry, but just screwed up John's title. When they approached me about doing it, they said, we want to do a series about Reggie and Me, and then Me is his dog named Vader. And I thought, Reggie and his dog, and that's when it just seemed natural to let the dog be the narrator, because dogs are, just loving animals, and they love their masters unconditionally. And I thought this would give us a great entree into the real heart and soul of Reggie. A very biased entree, but an entree nonetheless. It just seemed like a natural way to go.
I got two quick lightning round questions. Lightning round question number one: Is Archie better off with Betty or Veronica, or I guess Cheryl Blossom if you wanted to go for a third dark horse option?
Well, the obvious choice is always Betty. But in the new Archie series, Veronica truly loves him. So I don't know if there is an obvious choice anymore. I am torn.
So much nuance. So much.
I think Mark Waid has done his job much too well. He has made me truly care about Veronica.
The Herculean task.
It's funny because I remember in the death of Archie, like, spoilers for the death of Archie, he dies, and I remember he's looking up at Betty and Veronica, and he's like, I've always loved you. And they kind of have this moment where they look at each other like, who's he talking about? I always thought that was like, even in the death of Archie, they have this like final little nod to, we'll never really truly know.
It's hard because, there have been stories that I've written where I'm totally convinced Veronica's the one for him. Mm-hmm. And then there have been stories where I'm totally convinced Betty's the one. In many regards, both of them are too good for him.
Sorry,
that's the bottom line with most of us and the women in our lives. They're too good for us.
I think that's why I stay single.
Well, good luck with that.
There's no alternative. But the lightning round question number 2, because I feel like this always kind of varies. As somebody that's written Spider-Man, I'm always curious, who do you think is the definitive Spider-Man villain?
Doctor Octopus. And I think that because Doctor Octopus is the man Peter Parker would have grown up to be if he hadn't had his sense of responsibility.
I think, is it Amazing Fantasy 15 or something where he's kind of lamenting that nobody recognizes his genius and he gets so resentful before he gets the spider bite? He's like, I'll show them all.
I don't know if he was resenting the fact that people didn't understand his genius, but he was resentful towards the kids around him.
Now, Tom, or legendary Tom DeFalco, something that we ask everybody on the show, what are you currently geeking out over?
What am I currently geeking out on? A whole bunch of things. I just read this great graphic novel, Die Kitty Die, by Dan Parent and Fernando Ruiz. I'm enjoying Mark Waid's Archie Comics. I read the first issue of Betty Boop.
That's right, she's back. My God, I hadn't seen Betty Boop since like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and she's back.
She's back. And then I'm catching up on some other comic books that I haven't had a chance to catch up on for a while.
Anything outside of the comic world? Any TV or movies or music?
Gentlemen, I am I would have to say a readaholic. I read pretty much about a novel a week on my slow weeks, and my tastes are very varied. Though I tend to stay within my own genre, which is the mystery thriller kind of thing. In terms of TV, I'm really enjoying this TV series called Blunt Talk.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, with Patrick Stewart. Yeah,
with Patrick Stewart, I think it is brilliantly written, and it's one of those things that I have no idea where anything is going. I'm a big fan of Longmire, another TV series. The first couple of seasons were on AMC, and it's now on Netflix. I just started watching Cage on Netflix, and I've just seen the first 2 episodes, and I'm going to see more. I saw Doctor Strange and really had a good time there. It's a real, goofball, fun adventure.
Did you ever have the opportunity to write Doctor Strange or Luke Cage while working at Marvel?
Not their titles, but I did guest star them a number of times. I know that during my Thor run, Doctor Strange routinely came in, and during my I think Thunderstrike run, Cage appeared a couple of times.
I do have your like no BS. Like, I'm not brown nosing. I do still have that first holofoil issue of Thunderstrike.
As well, you should. You should have all 24 issues of Thunderstrike.
Sam, get on it.
Thunderstrike, in many ways, I think that Thunderstrike was a little bit ahead of its time, because so many characters today are essentially Eric Masterson.
Yeah.
I look back on that and said, boy, did this series have a potent effect on the industry.
Well, you got Eric Masterson, you got Ben Reilly. I mean, you got a lot of stuff to your credit, Tom. It's been. I mean, there are many. It's interesting because, like, I feel like people are just now, like, 20 years on, 15 years on, warming up to the Clone Saga. They're like, you know what was actually like a really fun story? The Clone Saga. Like, it's had that period where people were kind of like, why did this go on for so long? And now they're kind of back to like, oh, this was actually like a lot of fun.
It's funny, how time changes things. When Paul Ryan and I were on the Fantastic Four, the bad news was, all the reviewers hated us. They kept coming up with, new ways to tell the universe that we stunk. And the Fantastic Four, Paul would go to conventions and come back and say, "Oh man, the fans they keep telling me how much they hate the book and hate the book." So that was the bad side. On the positive side, every issue the sales went up. And I mean, it was a straight line up and up and up and up. And I said, yeah, they hate us so much that they're telling all their friends to buy copies so that they can hate us too. These days when I occasionally show up at a convention, people come up to me and tell me how much they love the Fantastic Four, and I'm thinking, well, where were you when I was writing it? There are certain titles when you're working on, people never like you while you're on the title. When I was writing Amazing Spider-Man the first time, I followed Roger Stern, who I still think is the best Spider-Man writer after Stan Lee. Although Mark DeMatteis is close. And people would come up to me and say, boy, I really love Roger Stern. I hate your stuff. And I'd say, well, I love Roger Stern stuff too, but, I hope you don't hate my stuff too much. I hope you're not, haven't stopped reading. He said, oh, no, I'm reading every issue, but, I hate your stuff. Okay. And when I was on Thor, people would come up to me, oh, I love Walt Simonson, and you're a bum compared to him. Oh, okay, well, I love Walt Simonson too, but, what can I do?
Thanks for buying the comic.
Yeah.
Was this an 80s fan thing?
What? And I'm sure that's happened to so many other guys, that people hated you while you're on the book. And then once you get off the book, there's, oh, I loved your stuff. Oh, so great. Why didn't you say something while I was on the book?
Well, having read the first issue of Reggie and Me, Tom, let me say, I love your stuff.
Well, you're just saying that because there was nobody before me.
I'm trying to think, who wrote?
In comparison to the nothing that was before you, you're like the best.
Top.
I'm so much. That's what I'm gonna. The legendary Tom DeFalco. He's better than nothing. All right, that's what I'm going to put on.
It better be on the next couple issues, written by the legendary.
So to tie it all up, and before we sign off, what can we expect in the next coming issues of Reggie and Me? And do you have anything else that you'd like to plug while you're on legendary Tom DeFalco?
Well, in terms of the next couple of issues, he's going to, come up with a sinister plan to pit Archie against Moose, so that he can walk away with Midge, and complications will arise.
Hijinks will ensue.
Yes. And we're also going to get some insight into Big Moose, who is another character I think has always been misunderstood.
He's just a lovable lug. He's just there. No, do you have anything else that you'd like to plug before we sign off, Tom?
Not at the moment. In terms of comic books, Reggie and Me is what I'm working on now, and as you get to my advanced years, you always think, well, this could be, this could be it for me, because as you never know, whether or not there will be another intriguing assignment after this. So I hope that the readers enjoy it and have a good time with it.
People at home, buy this book now so Tom DeFalco, legendary Tom DeFalco, can have more to do. I swear to God.
No. The legendary Tom DeFalco always has plenty to do. Sometimes not in the comic book industry, but I'm a freelancer, and I almost never know where my next meal is coming from, because I order out a lot and don't know. I have no idea.
Blindly type in the Grubhub.
But what can I say, guys? Life is good. I'm a very lucky man.
Yeah. And again, it's a great book. Go ahead and check it out. It's in comic book shops everywhere on Wednesday, December 7th. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I got to meet the guy or talk to the guy that got me into Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet.
That is... Here's a question, guys,
Mm-hmm.
now that we're, post-interview.
Now that we're clear.
Yes. I don't think I've ever... maybe I've asked it, knowing my ass. But who do you think is the definitive Spider-Man villain? Not necessarily who's your favorite.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite's Mysterio, but he's not definitive.
My favorite's Hobgoblin, but I don't think he's...
I mean, with all respect to the legendary Tom DeFalco, it's got to be the Green Goblin.
Is it only because of Gwen Stacy?
No, I mean, because, Doctor Octopus inadvertently kills Captain Stacy, which I think is a more emotional death, in my opinion. But, no, I mean, Green Goblin... the moment for me that is a moment everyone forgets. No one fucking talks about this shit. They always talk about Gwen Stacy. And look, the death of Stacy is my favorite Spider-Man thing of all time. But it's emotional and sad because of the neck snap and blah, blah, blah. And I think one of the reasons that Green Goblin is the greatest villain is because that happens, but also because of the relationship with the son and everything. And he's done so many things in Peter Parker's Spider-Man's life. But the moment is that Captain Stacy, the last thing he tells Peter to do is take care of Gwen, which means that he knew he was Spider-Man all along. And in that moment, in that tiny little moment, he says, take care of Gwen, which is always a huge sore spot for me with the Amazing Spider-Man movie, because he says, stay away from Gwen. And so I've always liked in the comic book that Peter's kind of like goodbye to Captain Stacy. This father figure is this shock of, oh my God, he knew I was Spider-Man the whole time. And of course, it leads to other things. But yeah, I think Green Goblin, definitely in terms of classic characters, I think just because the visual and because of he's been in all these different points in Spider-Man's life. People nowadays would probably throw Venom in there because, he's very much a 90s.
He was always like in the animated series and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, Maximum Carnage.
Of course, yeah, the legendary Tom DeFalco. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think Green Goblin he kind of just a little bit head and shoulders above the rest.
Knowing the next to nothing that I do of Spider-Man, I mean, mostly it's the movies and the cartoon show.
Who's your favorite villain before you say definitive?
Probably. I mean, it's probably one and the same. Venom. I understand where people are coming from when they say Doc Ock, but for whatever reason, I just personally can't get behind
Elton John.
Yeah,
jacked Elton John.
That's why he's the definitive villain, because he looks like Elton John.
Yeah, he looks like jacked Elton John.
But
jacked Elton John. We need to go over your definition of jacked.
Have you seen some the
Doctor Octopus isn't jacked?
He's has some pecs on him, dude. Look back at that shit. He's got some pecs and biceps on that dude. There's some drawings of him where he's got some biceps and pecs.
Do you also think that Pamela Anderson has some pecs?
No. But there's I mean, he's got Kingpin fat jacked body. There's some definition there. Like, he doesn't have man boobs. He's got some peckage going on. Some peckage and some bicep action going on. Cuz he's like, I mean, he's not like, six-pack jacked man, but he's got like Kingpin jacked fat on him. Yeah,
I like that Dan Slott during his Spider-Man run was like, Doctor Octopus, aside from the mechanical arms, which is his gimmick, is just a man. So he has this montage of like Spider-Man or like Captain America or like everybody like just punching Doctor Octopus, and he's just like, it tears his body apart at a certain point.
Well, yeah, he's an old fucking man.
Yeah, that just gets annihilated by the greatest Marvel superheroes on the rag.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, he's. I don't know. Yeah, Doc Ock, But what was I going to say? Oh, I mean, Mysterio, so much of my favorite shit he's done, though, is not in a Spider-Man related anything.
Are you talking like a Guardian Devil?
Well, more so Old Man Logan.
Oh.
I think people are always like, oh, fuck him. Fuck Mysterio. He's a fucking idiot. And I'm like, read Old Man Logan. That shit is dark, and he does one of the worst things that a villain's ever done that anybody ever.
The one thing I can't buy about Old Man Logan, I think combined the X-Men could stop Wolverine.
I mean, it would be a long ass day.
Yeah, it would not be a fun day at the park.
It would not be a fun day at the park. But I think the thing is that Wolverine has going for him against he's
trying
X-Men
to kill them.
Is he's Berserk Wolverine?
Yeah,
it's like you hold back Superman, he's never going to be Batman. But you take away that humanity. No question. Like, do you think? I mean, I think.
Well, and Jeff Loeb says as much during Hush. He's like, the only reason I'm still alive is because he's fighting it.
Yeah, he's fighting it. That's like, it'd be like, could Superman beat the Justice League if he took his humanity away? Probably. I mean, I think the biggest problem would be Martian Manhunter, of course.
Not Wonder Woman.
No, Martian Manhunter. I think. I mean, she would fuck him up, but it'd be from a superpower standpoint.
Does Superman's heat vision count as part of Martian Manhunter's weakness to fire?
I mean, if he made fire, but not if he shot it, he would be like, ah, shit.
Here's a weird thing. Doesn't Martian Manhunter have heat vision too? I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah. I mean, but like
he has I feel like
that's something he probably uses very sparingly.
Well, I remember
I feel like Martian Manhunter was one of those characters, much like a lot of the superheroes in the past, but like even like kind of today, that they just kind of threw powers at him. They were whatever he needed to be able to do in that issue, he was able to do.
Fred Van Lente said as much too. Like when we had him on the show to talk
He's
weird.
He's pretty stacked with powers.
Yeah, he was just like they were just like he can stretch his arms and he can go intangible and he can shapeshift and he's got telepathy
and he can throw his cellophane S.
Yeah.
And he can shoot little Martian Manhunters out of his hand.
Yeah. The greatest.
A literal thing that Superman is able to do. Not little Martian Manhunters, but little Superman.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he could do Martian Manhunters.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Is it just a cloning thing that he's doing?
Yeah. What happened? Are they sentient? I don't know.
Are they like the little ashes from Army of Darkness?
And here's a question.
Yes.
I think it's only fair that we hold ourselves to the same accountability as our guests. Betty or Veronica? I'm Team Betty, by the way.
Yeah, Team Betty.
Again, knowing as little as I do about Archie, I think I'd go with Betty.
Girl next door over the rich popular girl.
Yeah.
I'm
literally the only Archie comic that I've ever read was the one that we read way back.
Oh, the volume 1 of New
Here we
Riverdale.
go. Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane?
Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, Gwen Stacy.
I like.
You have to know who both of those people.
I
are.
know who they are, but like, literally, again, like Gwen Stacy's barely
blonde
in
hair
the-
or red hair.
Oh my god, red hair. Then
Okay, there you go, Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Mary Jane.
No, like she's Gwen Stacy's barely in the animated series, and she's only been in the Amazing Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 3, played by Bryce Dallas Howard.
That's true. She is. Yeah,
Ooh,
she
shit the bed.
You guys got anything new since last
I saw
week?
Hacksaw Ridge.
Was it any good?
It was pretty good. I mean, the true story of Desmond Doss, the first conscientious objector to be awarded the Medal of Honor, because Sergeant York killed people, and I think they kind of tricked him into fighting by using the Bible. But we're with I'm no expert with that shit. But anyway, with Desmond T. Doss, a man of his fought for his convictions. He did not carry a weapon. There is one scene where he touches a weapon, but it's for good reason. Doesn't fire it. But again, doesn't fire a bullet. Saves 75 men by himself. In the hellfire of war.
You were saying this is like the most brutal Mel Gibson film?
Oh yeah. The first half is very much his home life, and they always got to do the right. Here's my thing. I was talking to Sam about this. It is made, and I don't mean that it's like a period piece. It is made like a 1940s war film, like you would see in the 1940s, which is at its core its biggest strength and biggest weakness for me. There is some super cheeseball stuff going on in this in the beginning. But again, I feel like Clint Eastwood, sorry, Mel Gibson probably was had that image in his mind of this era and this ideal, because Desmond Doss was this very humble, quiet man. He died in 2006. So this is a story a lot of people haven't heard because he wasn't interested in telling the story. He lived it, and he fought with his brothers and loved people equally and stuff, and was a great, decent man for it. But the first half, like I said, is very much the home life and training, which is fine. For me, when they get into the real the thick of war and battle, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, Saving Private Ryan is 20-ish years old now, but a lot of people hold that as the benchmark of, I guess, brutality in war films, because it really kind of changed the game.
It was I think the most widely seen film that had that level of violence.
Yeah, I remember my parents seeing it, coming back and being like, "Holy moly!" And my grandfather even gave me the double VHS and was like, "You really should watch this." I wasn't old enough to watch it in theaters when it came out, but yeah, I mean, this film, Mel Gibson does have a thing with violence in his films. A Man Without a Face being really the only one without it. I mean, it still deals with trauma of some kind and brutality. But, Apocalypto was the last film he directed, was 10 years ago. And that's brutal. There's a scene where the dude gets eaten by a panther, which is pretty fucking gnarly. And, of course, Passion of the Christ. And Braveheart. Of course, Braveheart is, the battle sequences are very similar to that, where it doesn't do that thing where it shows you a couple minutes and then goes to something else. It's like, no, we're going to experience this. You're going to sit here, and the camera's going to sit here, and you're going to watch waves of this go on. And I think a movie or a show dealing with war that really kind of changed the game as well is The Pacific. When that came out, it really showed the unrelenting nature of battle, at least shown in a cinematic style, because, of course, this is all a film, but dealing with true events, but also the unpredictability of it, where it just comes out of nowhere. A lot of those old 40s war films, you'd have that moment where it's it's coming. This film really, uses the technology and CG to really kind of have these horrific moments come out of nowhere. There's one in particular that is definitely the most brutal thing I've seen this year, maybe the most brutal thing I've ever seen in a movie theater. And it just doesn't hold back at all, and that's something that Mel Gibson really, I don't think he gives a shit if you have a problem with that, because his thing is, this is a movie of what actually happened. And his mantra, as he was talking about it, doing all this press, which is great, because I get to see Mel Gibson doing these interviews and talking again and kind of getting back into the limelight. And he's saying, hate the war, love the warrior. That is what this movie is about. And for him, he said it's not a war film, it's a love story. A love story with his wife and with Desmond's wife, and a love story about, him and his men. He loves these guys enough, and he loves his country enough to go in without a weapon by his side. Even medics would carry, a handgun back then, to have something, even though, that Red Cross was supposed to be a do not shoot kind of thing. it's considered a war crime. I guess they say if you fire knowingly on a medic during war, but the first thing they tell them is get that shit off when they get there, because you are a target with that on. And so Andrew Garfield, really is the standout of it. Phenomenal performance. We're talking about Spider-Man and stuff. I kind of wish he was still Spider-Man in a way. We at least we could have seen one more movie with him, because that guy loves Spider-Man so much. And it always is a bummer that it kind of ended the way it did. Even though I thought Amazing Spider-Man 2 was better than the first Amazing Spider-Man, but I think it's worth seeing. But again, it is super brutal. I think a lot of people in the theater, I mean, hell, I thought I knew what I was getting into, but it's still really, really brutal stuff. And a solid film. I'm glad Mel Gibson's directing again. I hope he continues to direct. I think he's very Peckinpah-like with the way he deals with violence. There's scenes of slow-mo here and there. Of course, you kind of like violence and slow-mo and, American machismo kind of thing. You think of Sam Peckinpah. But I get a sense of, like, Peckinpah-ness with Mel Gibson as he gets older, with the way he does violence, because he doesn't hold back. He never turns the camera away. It's, I guess some people are really railing against this movie as, 1940s war propaganda stuff, but that's going to happen with every war movie. And again, I don't think he definitely doesn't glamorize war. That's something that is definitely not going on in this movie at all. I think he's really glamorizing or really showing like you said, the love of these guys fighting for each other, So again, it's an important story to read and read up on it. Read about the real life story, because it's pretty phenomenal. There's a great documentary, The Conscientious Objector. I rented it on YouTube for like $2, $3, and they have some clips of it at the end of the film. But they interview Desmond Doss and some of his brothers in arms, and they actually go back to Hacksaw Ridge, in their old age. It's pretty amazing. He's from Lynchburg, Virginia, too. So they, I don't know if they filmed on location there, but they definitely use that as a set piece. Hugo Weaving plays the dad, and they do kind of talk about PTSD, or I guess it would have been shell shock back then. And there's a really powerful scene when Doss's brother comes home in an outfit. He just enlisted, and they're having dinner, and Hugo Weaving's character's, the father was a World War I vet, and has this like heartbreaking scene at the dinner table where he tells a story without really ever acknowledging the son. He does at the end, but he's like, "Oh, you look like a Hollywood movie star." He's like, "So did so and so, my buddy," and then he talks about how he looks so handsome in his uniform, but it's too bad the bullet hit from the back and not the front, because it blew the front of him. He goes really into it and really kind of breaks down and is a character that I think symbolizes some of that early World War I stuff. And is in the back of Desmond Doss's mind, throughout the whole movie. So again, I think it's a solid movie. It's nothing's dethroned Sing Street yet. That's still top of the popper, most of the top.
Which is on Netflix now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. It's I mean that's still the top for me. There's been a kind of a revolving door of like everything else. Talking a lot about Doctor Strange and Deadpool still being on there, and Civil War and Everybody Wants Some is really high, and Hell or High Water. Thank you.
Yeah, nice guys.
That's definitely in there. Nice guys, yeah, maybe. But for me at least. But yeah, I mean, there's interesting stuff. I'm still very excited. I have this tomorrow off. I'm still very excited to try to check out Kubo and the Two Strings. That's available to rent now and looks really amazing.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for that, and. We got a couple movies on the forefront we want to check out. I know Arrival is one. Mm-hmm. Then I know Christopher saw.
What a nice segue. That was pretty much the big thing that I've done since the last time we recorded. I went and saw Arrival. I had some free time after one of my shifts the other day, and decided to catch it. And it's the first movie in a while that's kind of made me like want to like stop and think and kind of go over like what did I just watch, and it wasn't just straight up like, oh yeah, I like that, it wasn't
probably since like Interstellar.
Yeah and even with that, I was just kind of like floored with how beautiful it was, but this one I was actually like, I need to like let this sit and kind of like gestate, figure out how I really feel about it. And like I do have some opinions on it that I want to like kind of talk with you guys, but I want to wait until you guys have seen it, because like it is there's a decent amount of stuff going on in the movie that beyond just the it's about communication between two species that have no real common ground, aliens and humans. But like I want everyone to go in with as little foreknowledge of anything else that's in the movie as possible, so that they can just soak it in, and then we can talk about it. And there's things that I loved about it. There's things that I hated about it. And I'm my opinion lies somewhere in the middle, towards the love side though. Like I still overall thumbs up the movie. I just need someone to talk to about the things that I didn't like about it. But I don't want to ruin the magic of the way that the story unfolds.
Well, hopefully we can help you out when we see it.
Yeah, this is the spoiler-free.
Yeah,
spoiler-free arrival episode, and I guess Friday is Fantastic Beasts and where to find them.
I remember someone was like, they're like Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. They're like, they're in the fucking briefcase.
Yeah,
there.
They're in New York.
I saved you 2.5 hours or 2 hours, whatever.
It's supposed to be a 5-film endeavor.
Yeah, well, because it's
They
based
don't know
on
when to stop, man. Nobody knows.
Nobody
knows.
The carte blanche that this movie has is that it's not strictly based on a book, a narrative. It's based on a textbook. So you can have the misadventures of Eddie Redmayne's character.
I like Eddie Redmayne.
Newt Scamander.
Thank you. You can have the
Sounds
misadventures.
like a Blade Runner character.
Yeah. But he's basically, from my understanding of it, he's basically the Charles Darwin of the wizard world.
Does he have to? Is he forced to recant his views? Otherwise, he'll face some sort of trial.
Again, based on my understanding, he's the one that like is cataloging all these interesting beasts. Fantastic beasts,
and where to find them.
That means that they could take them all over the world. They can go through and they can
the world.
But I was going ludicrous, pimping all over the world,
around the world. But yeah, no. But so they could literally come up with a different story for all these like little groups of fantastic beasts from the textbook. They could throw in things that didn't make it to the textbook. They could they have so much freedom that they can just dick around with, and for better or for worse, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in it. I'm not super hyped, but at the same time, I wasn't like super hyped about Doctor Strange, and I ended up loving that one.
Like I said, the trailer for someone who's never really seen all the Harry Potter movies or read the books, like the trailer grabbed me though. The trailer seemed interesting.
Colin Farrell, you get Ezra Miller.
Oh,
nice.
Apparently,
Gellert Grindelwald is Johnny Depp. That means nothing to you.
No, I know Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I forget the gentleman's name, so you might have already said it. But the guy from Fanboys is the guy that he shares the apartment or hotel room.
Yeah. The discount Jack Black.
Yeah. The guy that's like when he starts walking into his briefcase. Yeah. He was. I know him from Fanboys.
What's her name? Sam Waterston's daughter, Catherine Waterston from Inherent Vice.
Yeah,
is in it. Yeah.
I saw the trailer for a movie called La La Land.
By Damien Chazelle
with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone.
It's supposed to be really
good.
Holy
shit! I people have seen it, in Sundance or not Sundance, so different festivals and whatnot, and are like going crazy. That movie, like if it delivers just as like 50% of what the trailer does, this kind of like whimsical sing-song, beautiful one perfect shot looking motherfucker, that could be a rival for goddamn Sing Street. Because this movie, I mean, I love those two. Like, I love Ryan Gosling, I love Emma Stone, but oh my god, and it's the director of Whiplash. Like, yeah, that movie looks phenomenal just from the trailer. And I had heard about it, but I hadn't seen anything. And it was actually before Hacksaw Ridge. I think they showed the trailer for it. But it sounded like a Muppet. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it's like December or something.
Yes.
When that comes out, so I'm definitely it's on my radar.
I think the Fantastic Beasts. Of course I want to see Arrival. Of course I want to see Arrival.
Yeah, I also want to see Edge of 17. That looks like
that comes out on Friday too.
Although I don't know if they just haven't updated it on Movie Phone, but it looks like it was like nowhere around here. If it's gonna be like one of those small indie releases, East Street Cinema might have it or something.
They might have a wide release
but,
later.
Oh my god, the trailer! They played it before one of the movies I saw this year. I don't know, but it looks like a Sing Street Perks of Being a Wallflower type movie.
Yeah,
more Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I love those like coming of age.
I do. I mean, that's why I love the Archie books.
Yeah,
you know, because
Octopus Pie and Blue Monday and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's Woody Harrelson's in it.
Yeah. I haven't seen Woody since True Detective.
My sister and I made a habit to go see all the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah,
man, those stalled out. 1 and 2 we're checking out. 3 is a fucking non-thing. Like it's unbelievable how bad that movie is. 4 is all right, but 1 and 2 are pretty cool. I like 1 and 2. And I again never read the books, but that's all.
What do you think it is about that? Now that you bring that point up about that kind of young adult, like teenage daydream kind of shit.
Well, speaking of the shits, I think it is something that we all experienced. Like that's something we all had. Now maybe not the exact experience of say what happens in Perks of Being a Wallflower for me is something there are shit that happens in that movie that 100% happened to me the exact same way. And so you forget about just relating to it. Like I could put myself in that exact situation. But I think it's something that most people have those experiences. Most people can remember.
Have I started a band to impress a girl? Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole
we didn't win over the school, but
yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, Sing Street, that latched on to my little shitty rock and roll high school days, playing in a rock and roll band in high school, and playing little parties and shows and having fun. But again, I think it is. We experience that, or it takes us back to that, or if we didn't experience it, we missed that and we wanted that. And I think it's something that it's so simple. Like, when they do it well, it's so simple. You get the really nightmare scenario versions, which is where like Quadrophenia and The Wall come in. The Wall obviously is like a lifetime, but The Wall is also this tale of, the idea. I talked to a lot of people because I love that album so much where, every problem you have is that brick in the wall. Another brick in the wall is you get fired, you get dumped, you get a flat tire. That's another brick in the wall. You're putting it up, yeah. And then
you don't like your job.
Yeah,
you don't like where you are in life.
The one thing you can do is you tear that shit down. But then, because it's life, what's going to happen is it's always going to build back up. Yeah. But what you can always do, you can tear that shit back down. And the moment you stop tearing that shit down is when you're finished. Yeah. You're finished. And so that's one of the things I love about The Wall, just to kind of like, but I mean, there are parts there that really deal with like the really kind of like really harsh things of that. Yeah. Where
The Wall isn't, isolated to youth. Obviously there's
now it's become much more of a political thing. Roger Waters being the mastermind of it, really. But it is
even outside of it. The thing about depression, sadness, those are addictive emotions.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. The idea. The thing about youth is so much just a singular part of The Wall. Paranoia and everything else, and ego and I guess fascism in the early days of it, but like it, that really and loss. But something like Edge of 17, where it seems to promise, and it is. I think another thing is and this may sound weird, but it's like almost genderless, because even though the Edge of 17 is clearly about this girl's story, like you can put yourself into any of that. You know what I mean? Like Perks of Being a Wallflower is great because you have. You have male, you have female, you have, one of the characters is gay, you have all these different things you can latch onto. I think Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of those shining examples of like, I think we talked about it. I don't know, when did that movie come out?
That movie came out in...
I saw it with TJ.
Yeah, but I remember we talked about it too.
Did we? Okay.
So it was, I want to say it was like 2014.
Oh, was it? Okay. But that's a movie that like I remember
Maybe
I was like,
yeah,
that'll be in my top 10 list, this or that. But that'll be a movie like I remember for the rest of my life. Like that's one of those seminal movies. 500 Days of Summer is like that too. But 500 Days of Summer is a better example of reality and expectation. That whole movie is really that one scene. You know?
It's the case study in it. It's also about finding yourself like after school.
Yeah.
When we're force fed our routine in school, it's so easy, you know. It's just like, oh, I have to be in class, and you know, I have to, you know, if we all worked while we were in school, I have to be at work after, you know. But it's a low stakes job because it's just high school. I think another thing, once you get out of it, it's like, oh fuck, you have to rediscover who you are. I think another thing you tapped in big, which is when you were starting the conversation, was the teenage dream aspect of it, the daydream of it. You know, the imagination. Like, how many times have we had that walking down the street in 5 Days of Summer, and you just have this imaginary band playing, and you're Han Solo or Indiana Jones or fucking, you know, whoever you can think of, you know, the badass motherfucker. Yeah, but again, that horrible but also wonderful imagination that can get you in so much trouble. I think that's what 5 Days of Summer does so well. I saw that movie 4 times in theaters, and I saw it 3 days in a row. And I remember I did before work, like you were saying, like you had in the back of your mind, I was like, fuck, I got to go to work today. But if I can squeeze enough time in, I can see 5 Days of Summer. And I remember, you know, like the 3rd day at Fairfax Town Center, they're like, 5 Days of Summer? I was like, yeah! I remember one day I ordered so much food, and then I sat down, I was like, I don't want any of this. I had popcorn, nachos, I just put it all under the chair. I was like, I don't want any of this. Remember that one time, I forget what movie, I think it was San Andreas. And what a great movie. We're walking up to the concession stand, and I was like, well, I always get like, I never. Well, no, you had a thing, and I was going to get a hot dog. Yeah. And I was like, I just don't want to get a large soda and a popcorn. Yeah. And I was like, hey, can I get a hot dog? And they're like, we're out of hot dogs. Like, oh, can I get a large soda and a popcorn? You do that thing where, like, it happens all the time where, like, if you have like that one thing you're always getting, and when they don't have it, you just fucking panic. And you just order just anything. Yeah. The first thing your eyes can like click. I have terrible vision. The first thing your eyes can lock onto, you're like, I'll have the squid, you know, and you're just like, I don't like squid, you know. But yeah, I remember you were just like, and we're walking to the movie, and you're like, I didn't want this. Yeah.
This is the last thing I wanted. Yeah.
The panic sets in.
I explicitly said not wanting this before I ordered this.
Yeah. But no, I mean, hopefully Edge of 17 is one of those movies that joins the ranks for us. But like, you know, I think hopefully it will. I mean, those are up there. You know, honestly, the first American Pie is up there for me. Yeah. Because that was kind of like my little friend clique. You know, not like making pacts to lose our virginity, but like that kind of dynamic, though. Yeah, the first legal rated R movie I saw in theaters, and it probably would have been close to you if you saw it. I mean, it was American Wedding, because it came out like the weekend we turned was it 17? Came out in
2004, so. Or, yeah.
Yeah, so 18. Yeah, 18 without, to get it.
It's 17 without an adult.
17 without an adult
movie.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what it was. Yeah. So I
remember
it had
to be 2003. It had to be
2003. So we went to go see it, and the guy didn't even check my ID. And I was like, fuck. You know, the one time, because I'd seen rated R movies before that. You know, you do the, you sneaky with your buddy or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, Mom. Yeah. But
I want to see Shakespeare in Love. Damn it.
Well, no. It was like Red Dragon. But
if I remember correctly, Shakespeare in Love also rated R.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
Yeah.
Because of them titties.
There are titties in it, but that's about it. That's about it. But
that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I remember American Wedding was the first, So yeah, the American Pie trilogy, or whatever you want to call it.
I really do like that trilogy. Well, the first two. I like the first two quite a bit.
I watched Animal House recently for the first time since I graduated college with my sister, who's a senior in college, and I'm watching this and I'm going, why the fuck are we doing this? Because this is only giving her ideas. But that movie's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, and Caddyshack.
I mean, those are the internal struggle in my brain is what movie's funnier. I don't know. Like I
Caddyshack for me.
I mean, I don't know, man. I really don't know, because like the thing about Animal House for me is the subtle bullshit in the background is so fucking funny. I mean, of course, John Belushi, but then you also get Chevy Chase and Caddyshack.
I would argue Landis is a better comedy director than a horror director.
Oh yeah,
he does great job with horror.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I mean, for me,
but he is a comedy director. He just happened to do a horror movie or. Yeah.
Well, he was like sitting on American Werewolf for like the beginning, right? Like that was something he had. Like, but I mean, for me, for Landis' sake, what the fuck's the name of that movie I was just thinking of?
Animal House.
Animal House. Animal House. Bum, bum, ba bum, bum. But that's my favorite of his movies. But I wish I loved American Werewolf in London more. Like there were parts like I legitimately like the movie a lot, but there are parts that like I mean, I wish I loved that movie more. Like I wish I loved that movie like I wish I loved that movie. You know what I mean? Like it sounds really insane. I just don't love it as much as I wish I did.
There's a disconnect.
Well, one of the big disconnects is when it's like that overhead shot and you see the werewolf for the first time coming up the escalator and you're like, the fuck is this? Like you've been waiting the whole movie and it's a Furby. But
it's a tribble.
Yeah, it's a fucking Furby tribble, man. And it's like it does that thing that every fucking werewolf movie does. Well, The Howling doesn't. I mean, is that bullshit? They're gonna be on all fours. I hate that. That's the worst thing you can do.
You like bipedal werewolves?
Bipedal werewolves. Give them to me. Like, give me the ones that stand on two legs and are fucking top-heavy jacked, like Doctor Octopus. You know what I'm saying, though? Like,
Bringing it back.
Why give us a werewolf anything if it's just a stupid wolf? You know, that bummed me out that Joe Manganiello wasn't in like full on like.
You never got to Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Is that the third one?
Yeah,
I saw that in theaters.
Okay.
One and three.
Because it's got
it has a werewolf. Yeah,
a bipedal werewolf.
There you go. I mean, it's the little things in life that make so much sweeter, and it's when your werewolf is on 2 fucking feet.
It's kind of like I prefer slow zombies. I don't like fast zombies.
Slow zombies too. Yeah, slow zombies are scarier. I mean, fast zombies are like the quick. Oh yeah, it's scary because they're running at you.
Yeah, but if anything runs at you,
yeah. If your fucking grandma runs at you,
if
Doctor Octopus ran at me,
if a 4-legged werewolf runs at you, you're still gonna be scared.
But you're gonna be like, that's a wolf.
Yeah.
But if you see a jacked werewolf man running towards you, you're like,
now
you're in deep shit.
Yeah, it's like Altered Beast.
Yeah, because it's gonna grab you and like throw you against the wall and rip your face off. There needs to be more werewolves like standing up in the world.
They need to stand up for themselves.
Stand up.
Stand with them.
Stand up, be counted.
Yeah.
I'm with it, the werewolf.
The lycanthrope.
The lycanthrope.
The lycanthrope party.
I mean, like, I think my entire image of werewolves is from Werewolves of London. Like, I mean, they're neat. Like, how has there not been like? And this is a terrible like mix of things, but like a Deadpool-esque werewolf movie where like it's all the humor and there is that like the main character is the werewolf from Werewolves of London who's in a suit, whose hair is perfect and is eating Chinese food, at Lee Ho Folks, which you can buy that shirt, which is really funny. But like, or at least like a comic anthology series of like Rolling the Headless Thompson Gunner, like any Warren Zevon tracks. But yeah, this idea of like the world being
a vampire.
Well, no, the world like not caring about the fact that a werewolf is sitting outside in a suit eating Chinese food, like just going about his day
With
reading the
the
newspaper.
Queen.
Yeah,
He's reading the Queen.
Yeah,
that's an in joke,
with Lon Chaney, and then later on Lon Chaney Jr. I remember when I sang that at karaoke, I changed out. I said Sam 5.
Oh, yeah.
The good old days.
Sam 5.
Back when the karaoke, like, you could actually hear yourself sing before they're like, let's just turn the bass up all the way.
Well, I remember, I was like, I'm going to do Werewolves of London, and what's his name? I was like, fuck.
Dave, because he worked at a Halloween store, and he's like, there's 3 songs that they play.
Yeah.
That, Monster Mash, and Thriller.
Yeah. Well, Werewolves of London all the way. But yeah, so I don't know how we got on this werewolf tangent, but god damn it. Werewolves need to stand up for themselves.
Both literally and figuratively.
Literally and figuratively. I'll watch. I'll check anything out werewolf style, man. There's a is it Bad Moon Rising or Bad Moon or whatever? There's some voodoo movie. Like I don't know if it's on sale anymore. They have to do the werewolves. God, I wish I was a werewolf.
Yes,
it'd be fucking horrifying and terrible and painful, but.
What I always found intriguing by the werewolf kind of story is that it's almost like a case study of people that aren't in control of their actions.
Yeah, and what makes it so funny for me is the werewolf that is in control of his actions. But he's not like he's just a guy. Yeah. Like that's what's so funny to me is like the werewolf that's just living his normal life. And he's like, I'm stuck.
I'm just a werewolf.
I'm just a fucking werewolf, dude.
Yeah.
Everyone calls him up when it's a full moon. Hey, buddy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
the super moon, he'd be like, Jesus fucking.
Well, anyway, thanks again to the legendary Tom DeFalco.
Yes.
For coming on the show. Talking Reggie and Me, again, out in comic book shops everywhere, and on Comixology and on the Archie app on Wednesday, December 7th. And talking Spider-Man. I mean, again, it's just so cool.
We've had some pretty cool dudes on this show.
The pedigree.
Yeah.
The pedigree. I like to think it's our professionalism.
Yeah. And our love of werewolves.
Yeah.
And wieners and buns.
Wieners and bones.
The Sam Stone story.
Yeah. And the fact that we've
A
had
Sam Stone adventure.
and the fact that we've had Alex DeCampi on 3 times.
Yes, yeah. And
Jesus.
she wrote Archie vs. Predator.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we've had anybody else that's written in Archie world.
Yes.
Tim Seeley, sort of.
Yeah, with that hack slash story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can go back. I'm sure there's.
Mark, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on.
Oh yeah. Werewolves or vampires.
Yeah.
Or zombies. Is that the trilogy that when you come up with that question, is that the trilogy you do? Werewolves, zombies, or vampires?
Honestly, it's mummies because there was no.
Oh, mummies.
There was no.
Fuck a mummy.
There was no
fucking old decrepit bitch. Just blow it over. Yeah.
There was no. There is no like universal like zombie man.
Although a mummy technically
I know,
would
but
be
I
a
was
zombie.
An Egyptian
well, I mean,
zombie.
if we're going by
It's a
like
very specific zombie.
yeah, I mean, if we're going by universal, yes. I mean, Invisible Man on the way,
and
but like,
that's always what the questions were.
but for me, it was just movie monsters. Like nowadays, no one's gonna say, "Hey, you seen a mummy movie?"
Frankenstein, I guess, or Frankenstein's monster. Fine. It's accepted. He takes his master's name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that wraps it up.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
Fried chicken.
And I'm Chris.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.